John, the headlamp king of K&P Auto Dismantlers, had seen many things in his time, but nothing prepared him for the sight that met his eyes. Within the greasy, grumbling heart of the auto salvage yard, a place where car dreams come to die and be reborn, John was known to hold court. Stern yet fair, he was a beacon of order in a world of chaos. But on this particular day, as he made his routine rounds, he found himself stepping into a mystery that would rattle his orderly world like a loose exhaust pipe. As he entered the humble restroom, a sanctuary for the over-caffeinated and the taco overloaded, his eyes widened in disbelief. There on the wall, in letters as bold as a neon sign at a Vegas nightclub, was the phrase KaKa PeePee. It was as if someone had taken the liberty to redecorate with the artistic flair of a disgruntled toddler. John's jaw tightened, his nostrils flared, and his fists clenched. This was not just an act of vandalism, this was a declaration of war, a challenge to his authority. Who did this, he thought, his mind racing faster than a turbocharged V8 engine. Fueled by a cocktail of outrage and determination, he stormed out of the restroom, leaving behind the mysterious inscription that had turned an ordinary day into a whodunit worthy of a daytime soap opera. His mission was clear. He had to find the culprit, the audacious prankster, the bathroom Banksy who dared to disrupt the sanctity of his kingdom. The headlamp king was not about to let this slide. No, he had a reputation to uphold, an image to maintain, and a bathroom wall to clean. His eyes hardened with resolve, his jaw tightening in anger. Who did this? He thought, already plotting his next move. And so the stage was set for a drama that would unfold in the most unexpected of places. K&P Auto Dismantlers. Stay tuned, folks, because the mystery of KaKa PeePee has only just begun. With the scent of oil and the hum of machinery as the backdrop, John called for an emergency meeting in the headlamp department. His face was a storm cloud ready to burst, and his voice thundered through the room with a force that made the headlamps tremble on their shelves. "Listen up, you grease monkeys," he barked, his eyes scanning the crowd of workers. "We've got a situation on our hands, a real stinker. Someone's gone and defaced our restroom with the words KaKa PeePee." A ripple of surprise swept through the crowd. Victor, the resident wise guy, raised an eyebrow, while Frank, our local rebel, had to stifle a snicker. Their reactions were a wild mix of shock, amusement and fear, but above all, there was confusion. KaKa PeePee? Really? "Let me tell you something," John continued, his anger palpable. "I've worked tirelessly to maintain order in this place, to keep it running like a well-oiled machine. And I'll be darned if I'm going to let some juvenile prankster throw a wrench in the works." Victor and Frank exchanged a glance. There was a spark of mischief in Frank's eyes, but Victor was quick to shush him. The last thing they needed was to draw attention to themselves. "I want the perpetrator found," John declared, slamming his fist on the table. "And I want him found fast. This isn't just about a silly phrase on a wall. It's about respect. It's about dignity. And believe you me, we're going to restore that dignity. One headlamp at a time if we have to." As he finished his speech, John's gaze swept over the crowd once more, a challenge in his eyes. He was throwing down the gauntlet, daring the culprit to come forward, to face the consequences of their actions. As the words hung in the air, the room fell silent. The hunt for the KaKa PeePee culprit had officially begun. Frank, the department's resident mischief maker, couldn't contain his smirk any longer. As the words hung in the air, the corners of Frank's mouth twitched upwards, his eyes sparkling with a mischievous glint. His laughter, loud and unabashed, echoed through the department, cutting through the tense silence like a chainsaw through butter. John's face, previously a mask of stern authority, contorted into a scowl. His eyes, two blazing orbs of fury, bore into Frank's laughing figure. "Frank!" he roared, his voice a thunderous boom that reverberated off the metal walls. "Is this your doing? Are you the artist behind KaKa PeePee?" Frank, still convulsing with laughter, wiped a tear from his eye and managed to choke out, "Me, John! I'm flattered you think I'm capable of such poetic genius, but alas, I cannot take credit for the masterpiece." John's face was a storm cloud ready to burst, his hands clenched and unclenched, mirroring the war of emotions raging within him. He took a step toward Frank, but the younger man was already on the move, slipping away like a greased pig at a county fair. "Frank!" John bellowed again, but his words were drowned out by the cacophony of laughter and the clatter of machinery. Frank was already halfway across the salvage yard, his laughter trailing behind him like a mischievous ghost. With a huff of frustration, John watched as Frank disappeared from view, his laughter still echoing in the air. His face was a study in disbelief, eyes wide and mouth agape. He shook his head, his mind racing. The mystery of KaKa PeePee had taken an unexpected turn, and John was left standing in the eye of the storm, more enraged and confused than ever. In the solitude of his office, John stared at the bottle on his desk, his mind racing. John, the headlamp king of K&P Auto Dismantlers, was not used to feeling defeated. But today, amidst the chaos of KaKa PeePee, he found himself in an unfamiliar territory. His eyes darted back and forth between the bottle of whiskey and the crude inscription burned into his memory. KaKa PeePee, he muttered, the words tasting strange and foreign on his tongue. A concoction of anger, frustration, and humiliation bubbled within him. But beneath it all, there was a glimmer of something else. Was it empathy or perhaps understanding? John's mind flashed back to Frank's laughter. The spark of rebellion in his eyes, the smirk that said more than words ever could. He realized this was not just an act of vandalism, it was a cry for change, a plea for something different. The stern headlamp king found himself questioning the system he had so diligently maintained. Could it be that his world of order and efficiency was stifling the spirit of his associates? Was the monotony of their routine, the predictability of their days, driving them to such desperate measures? A sense of resolve washed over John as he uncapped the whiskey bottle. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but swallow he must. He lifted the bottle in a silent salute, acknowledging the hidden message within the chaos. The headlamp king wasn't defeated, no, he was awakened. With the taste of whiskey on his lips, John made a decision. It was time to address the underlying issues at K&P Auto Dismantlers. It was time to listen, to understand, and to bring about the change that Frank's actions had so boldly demanded. He raised the bottle in a silent toast to the future, his eyes filled with determination. To change, he muttered, before taking a swig. Yes, change was coming to K&P Auto Dismantlers, and it started with the mystery of KaKa PeePee. Back in the headlamp department, Victor and Frank shared a tentative high five. The air was charged with a strange mix of tension, relief, and a hint of victorious glee. The mystery of KaKa PeePee had been solved, and while it didn't involve any secret codes or hidden treasures, it had definitely shaken up the monotonous routine of K&P Auto Dismantlers. Victor, the calm and composed one, looked at Frank with a newfound respect. Frank, the resident rebel with a grin that could outshine the shiniest of headlamps, had managed to create a ripple in their stagnant pool of existence. It was a small act of defiance that broke the monotony and sparked a much-needed conversation. They were more than just colleagues working in an automotive salvage yard. They were comrades, bound together by the shared desire for change. The phrase KaKa PeePee had started as a juvenile joke, a momentary lapse of sanity, but it had morphed into something much more significant. It was their shared secret, a sign of resistance against the relentless grind of their workdays. John, the stern yet fair headlamp king, was left in a state of bewilderment. His orderly world had been disrupted by two mischievous words scrawled on a bathroom wall, yet this seemingly insignificant act of rebellion had made him question the status quo. Was he too caught up in maintaining order that he had forgotten about the need for change? The mystery of KaKa PeePee had been solved, but the journey toward a better future at K&P Auto Dismantlers was just beginning. There was a renewed energy in the air, a sense of anticipation for what was to come. Victor and Frank, the unlikely duo, had unknowingly set the wheels of change in motion. As they faced the challenges ahead, they did so not as adversaries but as allies united by a shared cause. The legacy of KaKa PeePee would live on not as a symbol of mischief but as a catalyst for change.